One time, someone asked Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, what is the way to control the mind? To which Bhagwan replied, and I will just read his word. This is talk number 43 from the book Talks with Ramana Maharshi. He says there are two methods. The one is to see what the mind is, then it subsides. The second is to fix attention on something, then the mind remains quiet. Personally, the second method, which is to fixate attention on an object, that had been my method before I discovered the teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi. And usually the thing is that we focus on an object like a mantra or a breath, and it brings a lot of calmness. It does make the mind silent to quite an extent, very beneficial. But at the same time, it does not bring awareness to the root of our conflicts. Now, this method was suggested by Bhagwan to those people who were not very comfortable with self inquiry, which is the first method that Bhagwan mentioned. To observe the mind. That is self inquiry. Now, in that, what happens is that the mind introverts on itself. So, when the I thought is not allowed to expand horizontally, when it stays still, it merges back into the source. Now, in the second method, which is the subject object split, there is usually the subject, that is me, meditating on an object, let's say the breath, or mantra, or japa, or anything it could be. But in that, the sense of separate subject fixating attention on an object is maintained. And this subject object relationship introduces separation, the separation which becomes the cause of our misery. So, for Bhagwan, the first method of self inquiry was much superior. And self inquiry is not a method because there is no way to do it. It is simply just being the way you are. And in that, things are witnessed. Things are seen for what they are. And this is a very troubling and challenging thing for the ego, because ego does not know how to do that. The ego is always fixated on finding a way to do self-inquiry. There is no way to do self-inquiry other than to be, which is very clear from what Maharaj says in the next verse in talk 43. So I will read Maharishi's verse. Sorry, not Maharaj, Maharishi, Ramana Maharishi. If the inquiry is made whether mind exists, it will be found that mind does not exist. That is control of mind. Otherwise, if the mind is taken to exist and one seeks to control it, it amounts to mind controlling the mind. Just like a thief turning out to be a policeman to catch the thief. That is himself. Mind persists in that way alone, but eludes itself. You see, the mind is not interested in its liberation. The mind's concept of liberation is skewed. If you think that you are seeking peace or enlightenment or moksha of some kind, it is just your mind trying to convince you of something which it deems desirable. And mind's method is always of control. Maybe I will do breath control techniques, then maybe I will experience the bliss. Or if I abstain from so and so activity, or if I fast, or if I do japa, then maybe I will get awakening, the bliss. But you see, whatever the mind experiences will be temporary. Any peace, any bliss, any state that the mind experiences is temporary. Reason being that the mind itself is a movement. And a movement cannot know stillness objectively. The nature of movement is stillness because movement comes from stillness. They are one and the same in that sense, in that context. But in duality, they appear to be separate. Therefore, mind appears to be a movement. And no matter how much you modify a movement, you cannot understand stillness through movement. And this is the difficult concept to grasp for most people, because I see a lot of intellectualization and a lot of rationalization around the concept. And that is all a diversion that the mind uses to avoid facing the reality of now, the present moment. Here and now is the only reality. Because everything happens here and now. Here and now is this stillness. And the mind does not like that. So the mind says that I want liberation. The mind says I want realization. I want to know Brahman. I want to know consciousness. I want to attain it through effort. But the effort is only a modification in the movement. Only the effortlessness, the complete suspension of effortlessness, the complete suspension of effort is going to reveal the truth. Because a still mind is no mind. So here Bhagwan gives the example of mind, is like a thief pretending to be a policeman and then trying to catch the thief. So using the mind to know the mind, to control the mind, not to know the mind, to control the mind is like, employing a thief to protect your valuables. The thief will pretend to be the policeman. He will give you all the assurances that he will take care of your stuff. But what he will do in the end is, the moment you are away, he will take your stuff and run away. That is the nature of ego mind. And the seeing that Bhagwan here talks about is not a personal seeing. When he says that one is to see what the mind is, he is not talking about the personal vision, the distorted vision of mind from a limited perspective. He is talking about the pure witnessing of what happens. In pure witnessing, everything is revealed. The all the trickery of the mind is revealed, and that itself brings about a control. That control comes from knowledge, from jnana, from the real understanding, from the deep insight. It does not come from the thought, because thought is the mind. Thought is limited, thought is divisive. So if you use a thought to cut another thought, it is just mind playing hide and seek with itself. So to know the mind, simply be. Your being is the witness, and in witness, everything gets revealed.